Hello, and thank you for joining the session. Today we're going to continue looking at our chat bot, and specifically we're going to use the bot to start looking for other information than just uh, messages coming in from users on the chat system. One of the things that we have, let me see if I can pull it up here, is a application. There we go. It's an application that is able to let me use information from Twitch and YouTube to calculate viewership. And what I'd like to do is get this information updated more regularly. Currently, what happens is I have a Heroku scheduler process running every 15 minutes to get these updated counts. It's not nearly as useful as it could be if it was actually doing those checks more regularly. So that's going to be what I'd like to take a look at today. We'll take a look at Twitch first and see if this is something that we can get working within our React event loop. So we're going to open up the bot itself just to sort of see where we're at. Right now, the bot has a Twitch driver, a YouTube driver, a pusher driver, and Twitch is really just going to be a PHP IRC client configuration thingy. So we're really just configuring Fergie to do some things, and then we're acting on that. So as far as Twitch is concerned, we want to know when certain things happen. Specifically, we are interested in when the stream goes online. So we can use this current stream data that we get set to test to see whether a stream is up. So I don't necessarily want to be polling the Twitch endpoint for number of viewers if I'm not actually broadcasting. And especially if we get to the point where we're doing hosting. So with Twitch, one of the things you can do, let's go see if that's actually working here. You can have people auto-host you or host you. So right now, Joe's actually hosting me. So what this means is that if you go to Joe's channel, it's actually going to be showing Astrocasts. So even though I'm on Joe's user, you can see that this current live session is actually showing up here. So I want to be able to do that too. The problem is if I were to host people right now, it would trigger the webhook to activate Astrocast session. And if I don't have something actually there, which I won't because it's not one of my sessions, then things could get messed up. So right now, it is very safe for me to rely on this current stream because it's tied to the webhooks that Twitch is sending when the stream actually goes live. Eventually, what's going to happen is that webhook is going to get intercepted and it'll say, hey, there's no current session right now. There's not one within 20 minutes of now or 30 minutes of now or whatever we end up having to do for that. So don't send the stream online event, in which case we won't get the viewership. So even if my stream on our, Twitch is actually broadcasting, it's not going to actually be collecting or sending any information. So that's kind of where we're at right now. So we can rely on this current stream to see whether or not it's actually online. So one of the things that the loop does for ReactPHP is it just runs. So if we look here, the entry point is configure loop. We pass in a loop instance. We have the Twitch driver, the YouTube driver, and the pusher driver configure itself for the loop. We get the stream manager so we can get the current stream details. So this way, if the stream is already online, when the bot starts up, then it will still receive the initial stream online event. Otherwise, we wouldn't be collecting information when we should be. And then otherwise, it's going to send stream offline so we can do some additional cleanup there. So this isn't actually doing anything. If I go to our command for bot run, here we can see that we create the loop using the factory to create a loop. We tell the bot to configure itself for the loop, and then we tell the loop to run. So this is going to run indefinitely unless we add some signal handling to it, which we might actually eventually do someday. But it's just going to keep going. And so far we've sort of looked at some of the things that it can do. So keep in mind that the same loop is being used by Fergie here. So Fergie can listen for events happening like irc.received. The loop itself, I think, is probably listening on a socket to see if this information is coming in, and then it handles things on demand. So sort of how this asynchronous stuff works. One of the problems we ran into was finding out a way to send information to the IRC client from some external source, like our stream online and stream offline events. Because these stream offline and online events are coming in from the bot, but we need to be able to get that into the event loop that the IRC client is acting on. So here we're using the IRC tick event, which means we're registering something needs to happen once. The next time the loop says, hey, is there anything else I should do that I'm not watching? Sort of the way that I sort of work that out in my head. So then we can say, okay, set the data or current stream to the data that we got. So that's how we can inject stuff in. The other thing we can do is we can inject stuff based on time. And we can do that using timers. So we can do IRC client. Let's do add timer. Add periodic timer. I'm actually, so I'm going to look at the IRC event loop, or the ReactPHP event loop itself. It looks like Fergie might be doing something on its own. So let's go to event loop. And here we have periodic timers and a timer. So we have the ability to cancel these as well. So we might need to do something more than periodic timers. Periodic timers, well, let's look the normal timer essentially says do something at a certain time, and a periodic timer says keep doing this repeatedly is the way that I think that works. One way to look at that, if you're familiar with the JavaScript, would be set timeout would be add timer versus set interval for periodic timer. So it's going to continue to do that until you stop it. So it looks like cancel timer. So see periodic timer. So cancel timer can be used to cancel a pending timer. What do we do here? So do both periodic and add timer. Yeah, they both return a timer interface. Okay, so it looks like we'd be able to cancel that if we needed to. So the example here is hello tester passing in a loop. Add a timer for 1 second, and then run this code. So what you can do is run a second after this code has been executed, you'll end up seeing hello name running. So let's see here. Why does Fergie look like it's doing something slightly different? I see clients. Let's see, set periodic timer, interval, Fergie RC client numeric, callback. So for now, let's do 15 seconds. Let's just do that. 15, and let's see. I think we have. Do we have a logger? Let's get a logger here. There we go. Just so that we can start doing some better output handling here. This logger, there we go. All right, so let's see what we can do here. Let's see if this actually does anything. So every 15, what this should say is every 15 seconds, do something. Got int. So let's do, yeah, that's so weird. Interval. Numeric interval. don't know why it's being weird about this. Got int. All right. So let's do this logger notice ping r. And then let's start our bot and see what happens. Console. All right, so you are in a maze. Okay, so I'm connected. So let's see here if after 15 seconds or so we get a notification. Log entry, rather. For testing purposes, we might want to lower the interval. And let's do that just in case. So let's do add periodic timer. Let's do 1.0. Yeah, so that's not working. So instead, let's see if we can just do it on loop. Let's see if there's something weird with the way Fergie is doing things. Everything that I have thought on here, yeah, so it's actually working this way. 1.0 would not be an int. Yeah, I agree. That would not be an int. Hi, Adam. So looking at this code right now, all of the examples are giving floats. I don't know why. I think that, well, add timer is supposed to be a float. Let's see. Add periodic timer is a float too. So I think the difference here is the loop itself is type hinted to interval with no type hint. But Fergie, on the other hand, looks like it's doing something itself. So Fergie's add periodic timer, well, at least here, no, I'm doing loop again. IRC client, there we go. IRC client, unless there was just something weird about what I was doing there. Let's see. Yeah, so this one's complaining. So Fergie's add periodic timer. Let's see, where's this coming from? Loop aware, loop accessor interface. No. Loop aware, set loop. There's something weird that PHP Storm is handling this weird because it is passing it through. So it's sort of like a decorator object to a loop. Return. But if we look at the actual usage here, it's complaining about this. So expected numeric. So it says expected Fergie IRC client React numeric. I think that's probably the problem, actually. It's the, where's it at? The periodic timer. I think this is wrong. So since they tried to put numeric here, numeric isn't an actual proper type hint as far as PHP Storm is concerned. So it's thinking that this was the equivalent of something like numeric. Because it's lowercase, you might not think it does anything wrong, but it's actually looking like PHP Storm is treating it as if it were in the numeric was in the namespace of Fergie client. So anyway, I'm going to just use the loop anyway, because I don't think we need to use the RC client. Yeah, Adam says they were wondering about that, but was afraid of sounding stupid. No, don't worry about anything. I've, especially on these things, I've done some amazingly facepalm bits of code. And looked at it 30 minutes later after everybody's watching and be like, why that? What? Oh, yeah. Anyway, so always, if you have an idea, feel free to share it on chat. It goes for everybody. All right, so just to make sure this is still running, let's go ahead. Okay, so, all right, so I was torn around how to actually implement this because we already have some code to do this. If we look at the Twitch, let's see, get channel details command, what this does is if the session is offline, it doesn't do anything. Otherwise, it gets the number of viewers from the Twitch app Twitch API, and then reports the number of Twitch viewers, which is fine. This actually isn't that bad now that I look at it. So right now, this command is being run on a it's being run on a Heroku scheduler every 15 minutes. I was afraid this was already like a command bus and a command handler and everything. That's not the case, so I don't think it's a bad thing to essentially remove this command and just copy this code into where we want to do something with it. So let's go ahead and do that for now. We're not probably going to do things with the stream manager exactly, but it will give us more flexibility on what we need to do. All right, so this is going to fail. It's going to fail, so I'm just going to comment it out for now. Let's see, so let's go in here and see if this is something that we can do more asynchronously. So get number of viewers, does all this fun stuff trying to get things with refresh. Eventually this might be nice to do with some async stuff, but I think for now I'm not going to worry about that. Let's see, so get live streams, number of viewers, okay. Okay, cool. So I'm just going to run this now and see what happens. I think behind the scenes, I do want to get an idea of what the response body looks like. Let me see if I can do that easily. So we have Twitch driver, Twitch API. I'm going to star info, because I kind of want to get an idea of the rate limiting stuff and how often I am going to be able to get away with doing this. So back to Twitch driver. Let's do this logger notice number of viewers is now. All right, and let's change this interval to 5 just for now. Then I have to remember to actually cancel it regularly. All right, so after 5 seconds, we should see something here. All right, so number of viewers is now 4. All right, and then 5 more seconds later, we're getting it again. All right, so let's see here. Total, it's not giving me the API limit information. So I want to know how regularly I could do this. I suppose I could just look it up, but I was curious to know whether or not we have access to that here. Because one would think that's something that people would want to know. So get live streams. Get send request. response body. So I want to get the headers. Let's see, which is this? This is actually Guzzle. So I can do, so I want to edit the file anyway. I do this sometimes. Response. I think this is supposed to be a PSR7 response, so unless it's an older version of Guzzle, which would be annoying. Get headers. All right, let's see if this works as expected. Adam says viewers up to 6 now. Awesome. All right, so we are getting headers. There's no way to get this. All right, so let's see, timing. Hello. Let's see, Twitch trace ID expires. All right. Well, if there's nothing, I don't know if there's anything I can do about this then. Let's look at Twitch dev limit. Bear token. Rate limit remaining. When you make an API request, headers, this is the new Twitch API. I'm on API v5 because the new Twitch API doesn't have nearly as much stuff. Client ID limit. So I've never said your handle out loud before. I'm going to go with Weary Haximus. I don't know if that's what it is, but welcome to chat. If I've pronounced it wrong, try to give me some phonetic help on that. Client ID, paging through. Let's look for Twitch API rate limit. Oh, there it was. v5. One request per second. Okay, so I'm guessing I probably don't have to worry about this. And so let's see here. Let's just get rid of that for now. Rid of this for now. Twitch driver. All right, so number of viewers is now number of viewers. So really, I probably don't need this any more frequently than maybe once a minute. So I'm going to go with 60 for this. And so the other thing we wanted to do was in here, we want to check to see if not this current stream. So if we don't have a current stream, we just want to return. We don't want to do anything. So we want to bail early. So once a minute, it's going to check if there's a current stream, it'll report. Otherwise, it won't, which I think is totally fine for this use case. So now we need to get this information back to, the app itself. And we didn't, so far I've been trying to not actually do stuff sort of at the bot level where I can help it. Let's see though what we want to do here. Check the bot. So we do have the stream manager. In theory, we could probably expose that to the drivers. So let's do So we did record chat message here. Let's see what we have. Report number of Twitch viewers. This is just going to be the easiest way to do it, I guess. Use bot. Get stream manager. And there's definitely more async ways to handle this stuff. But for now, I think this is going to be the way it'll work. So now we need to do a getter for stream manager. Okay. And let's open up Safari. Where'd you go? All right, so we'll do the live Astrocast site, but we're going to go to the test one. Here we go. So right now, what we have is on the test site, we show 0 viewers. Are we still printing something here? Yeah, so we should still see number of viewers once the minute has passed. I don't know how off, there we go. Number of viewers is now 7. Don't remember how quickly this is, oh, there we go. So super quickly. So this is gonna be a lot nicer than it was before because my actual live code that I'm looking at right now still says 6. And it probably will even long into the future. So, so it looks like it's working. So I'm pretty happy with that. I kind of wanted to do something a little more meaningful here, but I think this is going to just have to be the way it is for now. I'm going to remove this, maybe say info, number of, oh. Okay. All right, so the periodic timer is pretty nice because it lets you do polling if you actually need to do polling. The more complicated one is probably going to be with YouTube. So we're going to, actually it's not going to be too bad right now. Let's go see what we have in the YouTube bot right now, our YouTube driver. I think it's actually pretty late. Yeah, so I think it's probably a good time to start with this anyway. So let's go ahead and get this going. So we're going to have some of the similar things that we had from the other driver. And I think this is where eventually we're going to run into the situation where it will make sense for us to have a common base driver. But for now, I think copy and paste is going to be fine. So let's go ahead and do current stream. Let's go ahead and we aren't going to have the equivalent of, we will have the equivalent of this, but we aren't going to do anything with IRC. So it'll actually be more easy than it was with IRC. So we're going to be able to watch for stream going online. And rather than doing this inside IRC, we don't really need to. And in fact, now that I'm looking at that, I don't know if we need to anyway. So let's go back. One of the things that we were doing is that we were sending a chat message when the stream went online or offline. But since we aren't doing that anymore, we might not actually need to do this via IRC, because there's no reason we need to do something with IRC. Originally, we were using write, so let's simplify this as well. Okay, cool. So we have stream online, stream offline. Now we're not doing anything with IRC. This is just managing our local state within our object itself. Oops. Okay, so YouTube driver. So viewer count is sort of what we were doing on the Twitch side. Current live chat ID. Let's do YouTube ID. Okay. So let's see. So we have session. There we go. So we do want to do some work at this point to find the current information on YouTube. Our current YouTube app API, has the ability to get the live chat ID, and it has the ability to get the number of viewers. So we can probably reuse this for now. So I'm going to have us use this. So let's go ahead and add YouTube API. Since Weary Haximus is in chat, there's a question that I've been wanting to ask about the asynchronous stuff. And that's mostly how dangerous is it to mix async and non-async code? For example, if I wanted to do doctrine ORM as some part of this asynchronous application, is that going to be problematic, or is it fine? It just isn't going to be pretty and asynchronous. If you have a chance to weigh in on that, I would very much appreciate it, because what I'm doing now is reusing the non-asynchronous YouTube API that we've already written in this asynchronous application. So eventually I'd like to make sure this is all a little nicer and completely asynchronous, but it might take a while. So I just want to get a good idea if I'm seriously backing myself into a corner here or not. All right, so we got the YouTube API. Now I could probably do more stuff in here, but I think what I'm going to do instead is not. So stream online, because I kind of want to separate what these things are doing. So we're going to do bot on online. Actually, no. Since we're going to do viewer count, let's do that the same way we were doing. Do the same way with the periodic timer. Oops. So rather than the app Twitch API, we're going to use the YouTube API. And we do have get number of viewers. This logger, we need to add a logger interface. There we go. Okay, cool. So now we have a logger. Number of YouTube viewers is now number of viewers, and report number of YouTube viewers. Okay, so we're going to switch this to every 5 seconds. This is pretty cool. It was actually keeping track of these pretty well. Ooh, something died. Awesome. Let's see here. Looks like our OAuth access token has expired. Okay, I think I have code that fixed this finally in master. Let's see if running it again just works. There we go. Number of YouTube viewers is now 1. Awesome. And if we look on our test, we now see we have 1. And if we wait a minute, we should see, actually let's drop these both to 5. Interval 5. So ideally I'd like to make these like configurable, but let's see here. So when this comes through, I think the number of YouTube viewers is at 6. Cool. So it's getting both of them now, which is already going to be able to improve what we have for being able to track the viewer count. So this makes me super excited. And it's just doing periodic timers, which is sort of a basic way to handle this. I'm going to turn this off for a second. The problem that we have with some of the other bits is that we do have API limits. So let's go to YouTube, YouTube API. The thing that I wanted to do was get the live chat ID. So let's look at the YouTube API for that. Number of viewers. Okay. Yeah, so this was actually kind of annoying because YouTube's viewer stats come from live stats for a specific video, which isn't a part of their usual API. It also means that this is not rate limited in the same way, I don't think, which is kind of cool. But a bunch of this code is duplicated in both of these locations. What's get snippet give me? So I might want to do, I'm going to do this. Interface for the win. Yep. Get live chat snippet. So let's do snippet. Is that a live? Yeah, it's a live broadcast snippet. Okay. So what I can do here is return this. Let's see, am I doing this the right one? Live broadcast snippet. So return the snippet. And then here, for live chat ID, turn this. There we go. Yeah, so Adam's saying that would also generify some of the names where Twitch and YouTube are hard-coded into the names. Yeah, that would definitely help a bit. So part of the stuff that I've been trying to do with the Astrocast stuff is to combat some of my ability to just overanalyze things and plan them and never do them. In some cases, that means I have to do things that make my skin crawl. One of them being this kind of thing where I'm doing a lot of hard coding and copying and pasting, but I am also finding in a lot of cases that any of the premature abstractions that I've been creating, a lot of times I don't need them. So, and when I do need them, it becomes very clear very quickly, and then I can spend the time to actually fix them. It's sort of the approach I've been taking with this. Okay, so we have this now, so I can get live chat ID. So let's do this. Which one? YouTube API, YouTube driver. There we go. So we get the number of viewers. So the other bit I wanted, so we have viewer count here. These other two pieces are going to be in a different timer because they're going to be slower. So watch live streams, periodic timer. So loop, periodic timer, and we'll still do 5 just for now. And what we're going to do is get this. So Snippet is one of the names from inside the YouTube API. I don't really know why. It's just a little chunk of data, metadata, but it usually has most of the information that we need for our purposes. So that's why it's called that. I didn't call it that. That's just that's just how it works. Let's do this, YouTube API, get live broadcast snippet. So let's see, we should be able to get video, the live chat ID. And snippet get ID, channel ID. It doesn't have the ID. Okay. Well, that's not fun. So what this means then is I might as well do live chat ID and get live chat ID, and then build another method to get more information. So, so if it doesn't come inside snippet, where does it come from? So this is list broadcast ID. Live broadcast get ID. See if that works, in which case we roll this back another level, which is good, I guess. So rather than getting the snippet, let's get the live broadcast. And let's return live broadcast. Expression result unused. Oh. All right, so broadcast snippet to get live broadcast, get snippet. So we roll this back twice now, which is fun. So let's do this. And we're going to have to do something similar here. So we need to make sure that the snippet exists before we get the data off it. There we go. And then this can pass back a live broadcast or null just because it's potentially going to return null. All right. This should be null. Okay. So back to our YouTube driver. Chat. Well, let's do live broadcast. Get live broadcast. Live broadcast. ID. All right, so let's see if this works. So this is going to happen every 5 seconds as well. Please don't crash. Please don't crash. Ah. All right. Call to member function, get live chat ID on null. YouTube driver, line 68. So let's actually do this. So we're still calling get live chat ID on null. It's possible I didn't do this right. Let's try that. Ah, there we go. All right, cool. So this is going to actually help me considerably by being able to automatically get this information. So what I can do now is link the video ID to the actual video object in our system. So let's see here. Let's do YouTube driver. I have this information. I'm gonna do something else here too. So record chat message, dispatch message. There we go. So what I want to be able to do is dispatch a message at this point so that the consumer can actually do stuff. Hey there, Louise. How's it going? So let's go ahead and create a message. So we already have some messages, so we want to do some commands. So right now, most of the commands are written to direct stuff at Twitch or YouTube when things happen locally in the model. But what we want to do now is do the opposite. So the sync video, for example, is something that happens when the video object in Astrocasts gets updated. It needs to send that updated information to YouTube. What we want to do now is sort of do the inverse of that. We're now getting information from YouTube that we didn't get before. So for example, we might do it like we did with Twitch in the past, because we have Twitch stream changed event. Let's see, I don't even know what the information comes in there. What theme am I using on PHP Storm? Let me double check here. So we have, I think I found one using the dark theme. I can't remember what the color scheme was, because I think that was the thing that was the more interesting bit. Color scheme, here we go. Photon light is the color scheme that I'm using. It's something that I actually picked up off of someone from Twitter. that they were writing about. Let me see if I can double check that. Actually, I don't know. I'll have to look that up another time and see if I can figure that out. But yeah, it's I'm also using Fira code with the ligatures and things like that. And I did a bunch of stuff to remove things. There's actually a pretty good Laracasts episode on PHP Storm and how to sort of be minimal with it. So this episode was actually pretty good, and I used that quite a bit to make sure that I had a nice palette for being able to do some of these screencasts. Okay, so we have this Twitch stream changed event, and I wanted to treat this as an event because instead of a command, because it's sort of an integration event. It's something happening that I have no control over. So I think we can probably do something similar here. So let's do event. We'll do YouTube. And then we'll do let's see here, YouTube stream details updated, changed. And this may not actually be a good name because we don't know that they changed, but they may have changed. I guess I'm not going to let myself get too picky about semantics on this. Again, this is, like Adam mentioned in chat earlier, sort of a first draft. And some of the stuff I can revisit if it becomes too painful. So we're going to implement, we don't need to do this, but I'm going to implement event. And then let's see here. So the information that we want to record now are video ID and live chat ID, but we also want to know the current stream ID. So we're going to do private live session. Is it session? Did I blanking on the name here? It's just session. Okay. Well, PHP Storm crashed, I think. That's a new one. All right, so let's get this back up. I must have did the wrong key command somewhere. All right, so we're going to do session ID. We're going to do YouTube video ID, YouTube live chat ID. This could be an int, I think. This will be a string. Generator constructors. And generator getters. I still have some PHP Storm configuration to do because there's a bunch of these things that the defaults that it does that I want to update. All right, so now we can do print our current stream just so I can make sure I remember what that structure looks like. All right, so we have live session ID. So there's some consistency issues there, which is kind of annoying. All right, so $bot dispatch new YouTube stream details changed, and we need the session ID. So we'll do, and then we need YouTube video ID. The one nice thing about the YouTube API is I'm 90% sure, 95% sure that the live broadcast ID becomes the video ID after the fact. All right, there we go. So if we're able to get this sent over to the command bus, then I'll have considered this a huge success because we're doing all of the things that we needed to do except for recording live chat. So I think that's what, I think that's what this one was supposed to be. Watch a live chat of any live streams. Okay, so this is the bit that we haven't done yet. Let's see here. So let's go ahead, run the bot, and run our consumer. And we should get an error because, yep, it's not going to be anything that handles that. So there's no handler for this message, which means this message was sent correctly. And let's see. Yep, session ID, YouTube video ID, and YouTube live chat ID. So we're getting all of this information now to our main application so that we can handle this in our queue. So the bot itself is doing its job. It just keeps sending more messages that we can't handle. There is probably some stuff we can do that I'll probably try real quick here. So let's do current stream, private, live chat ID, video ID, and then we are going to set these to null. Yeah, when it goes online. So YouTube, no. Video ID equals null. And then chat ID equals null. So what we can do is actually make this be a little smarter. So if, so let's do video ID equals ID. If video ID equals this video ID, so if the values haven't changed since the last time, then we're just going to return. So this will actually be more meaningful. So it's only going to send the message once. So let's go ahead and say, let's do video ID and live chat ID, and then we need to save these values. There we go. So in theory now, when the bot fires up, it shouldn't actually dispatch this message more than once. At least that's the way it's supposed to work. All right, so we dispatched it the first time because it's, as far as that bot is concerned, it's changed, but it hasn't changed now because it's still going to be the same. So everything else is still reporting. We're just doing a little bit of extra work here to make sure that we aren't sending a bunch of messages that aren't necessarily needed. So the bot itself can be a little smarter by doing this sort of thing. It also makes this event be a little more meaningful because it's a higher likelihood that the stream details have actually changed since we're doing this a little more smartly. The only time we would ever potentially get multiple of these is if a bot crashes in the middle of a session. So if I cancel, let's say it crashed, and then we restart it again, we'll see another message. But if we only see 3 or 4 through the course of a session, that's great, as opposed to one every 5 minutes or however often we ultimately set the timer for. Okay, cool. Well, I think that's probably all I'm going to have time for today. I'm probably going to pick up some of this stuff offline. Possibly tonight I'll do an Astrocast after dark and actually get this information synced into our database. I think the YouTube, the actual video object, we have a YouTube video ID, but we don't have a YouTube live chat ID. So this would be easy enough to put into an event handler off the messenger bus, but I still need to do a little bit of work to add one more column, but it's not too bad. But that's probably what we'll do today, and then sometime over the next day, I'll figure out what we're going to be doing tomorrow. It's a good chance that we're going to be spending time looking at YouTube for actually recording the chat messages. If we go ahead and try to do something in TC here, if the bot is still running. I think it is, right? No, it's not. So let's make sure the bot is running. In the background, people probably weren't able to see it today because we didn't actually have the consumer running and the bot wasn't running consistently. But you can see here that we're doing stuff with recording when people say stuff. So Adam just said, fun session today. Thanks, Adam. Appreciate it. And you're right here. So you're on the message bus. As soon as I actually have something handling this event that I don't have a handler for, we'll be able to process some of these messages in the back end. Ideally, I'd like to get this bot out soon so that we can start building up some content to actually be attached to these live sessions on the website. And I'd like to start using it myself on my little overview tool. So thank you all for joining today. See you again tomorrow at 4 p.m. US Central Time. Thanks. Have a great day.